Hello. Welcome to my stream. So, three topics for today are going to be the 6 month protocol review, Swift and Sweeney, and class and gender. The last one because I ran out of ideas, so I'm stealing one from one of my favorite podcasters, as one does. So, 6 month protocol review of the Trump administration so far. Wow, there has been a lot of content for this presidency. I mean, a lot. So, I'll go through the negatives first, and then go to the positives. Negatives. Trump has not been nearly as successful at dealing with resolving conflicts between countries and peoples as he promised. And I'm not sure how much blame he gets for that, really. Like, he basically tried really hard to make peace between Russia and Ukraine, and it didn't work. He tried kind of hard to make peace to end the Israel Gaza thing. It didn't work. What happened with Russia and Ukraine is that whenever one side is winning, they don't want to negotiate. Whenever the other side is winning, they don't want to negotiate. And that's been going back and forth for the past 6 months. I am probably about a quarter Ukrainian, so let me just say that this with all due honesty. Guys, get your heads out of your asses. Ukraine, Russia, like, you guys are swabs. You guys should not be fighting. Both your demographics are terminal. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Stop fighting. It's not that bad. The people who want you to fight are going to replace your countries with other people's. Don't do it. Just pure and simple. Why? But that's a failure of Trump. It's about Gaza. I feel like Trump is trying to find a pathway to peace, and it's just not happening. Because they really, really hate each other. Both sides can't agree on the same facts of the history. It's a broad sport at this point. And I gotta say, Gaza's winning the PR war. Israel is winning the ground war. Gaza's winning. Hamas is winning the PR war. I think Israel is making a giant mistake because at the end of the day, American Republicans are the only allies they have internationally of any of that actually matter. And you're stabbing us in the back. Smart move, not. So those two things are failures. Doge, I would consider decent, I guess. Like, I think we're all kind of surprised just how bad of a manager Musk is. Turns out he's a hype man, not a manager guy. And for something as big as the federal government, you really need a manager guy. And from what I've heard, the communication has not been great. Between different groups, pure and simple, and we all see it. However, they did make some good cuts. Like they cut USAID, good move. They cut a lot of the Department of Education, good move. They made cuts other places, good moves. Not as many cuts as were promised, but it's still good cuts. Any cuts are good cuts when it comes to the federal government. It's always growing, and if it gets cut back, shaved a little bit, good. Now, would it be better maybe just to tear a lot of the government agencies out of the ground? Yeah, probably. But this is what we got, and it's better than we would have gotten under pretty much anybody else. So I consider that a passing grade, but it's a C grade, not a B or A grade. That was a whole story too, though. But they did get rid of a lot of politicized agencies, which is good. And a lot of, like, you wonder where these international agencies that are super left wing get their money from. A lot of that was cut. You wonder where all these media agencies that have international influence and everything get their money from. A lot of that was cut. Politically, it was a huge success. From a cutting the size of government, it happened. There was some stuff great. Could have been a lot more. Apparently, they're still doing cuts. Another failure: not releasing the Epstein list. That's a failure. I think I understand why Trump hasn't released the list. Still think it's a mistake. Still think it's bad. Okay, so let's go to the wins. illegal immigration is temporarily halted, which is good. That's just a purely good win. Um, there's the percent immigrants in a population, new immigrants, should go up and down. We were at an all-time high, and you get too high, you run into issues. And especially as immigration moves forward, we're going to be getting less and less immigrants from cultures that are aligned with ours, or Latin cultures, and more from other cultures. I think you know the culture I mean. It's the culture that's pretty common in England right now. It's not English. So all in all, a win. I don't want to boot out everybody, but I also don't feel like we are. Like I feel like a lot of press is being done about it. We're kind of kicking everybody out. I don't think we are. I feel like we're not. Maybe my feeling is wrong, but I tend to be right. Um, Tariffs. I expected this to be terrible, terrible. I expected this to be really bad, but it seems like we just got better trade deals with everybody. Like the end result is better trade deals with basically everybody on the planet. That's a win. Um, Iran, I don't think we know yet what's going to be the long term outcome. Haven't gotten into any new wars, which is good. We know more, no Syria getting deposed, or Libya, or Iraq, or Afghanistan. No disasters yet internationally. People said Iran was going to cause World War III. They were wrong. And then finally, the big beautiful bill, flawed, but it got a lot of Trump's campaign promises across the finish line. His presidency would be seen as a failure now if he had not passed that. If that had not gone through, it would be seen as a failure. Him as a lame duck president, nothing's getting done. It would have it would have gone. It would have been very very bad. Thomas Madison can suck it because he was just wrong on this one. Very smart guy, incorrect about this one. You need your small wins. You need to move the football forward down the field. Maybe it's not a first down. You still want to get 3 yards on it. I don't know enough about football to really make that kind of comment, but it is what it is. So all in all, I consider it a B plus presidency, maybe an A minus. I think the biggest thing is that I think woke is dead, and woke is just such a poisonous ideology. Separating, like the fact that I roll dice with people where we basically assign each other privileges based on our sex and race and everything. That is so not helpful to anybody. Like the whole privilege, like no, or not being able to say stuff or canceling people because they say a man's a man and a woman's a woman. Like dudes, like I want to be nice to people, like trans people included. But you gotta be able to speak what you want to say. Say what you want to say. That is a core belief of mine that free speech is necessary. Because otherwise you can't tell people when they're being stupid. The alternative to the Trump presidency is seen right now in the UK, where they're literally throwing people in prison for years for saying naughty things, while meanwhile rape gangs get away with it. And that's the alternative if you don't have free speech. And also what's happening throughout Europe. Like I'm so glad America is going in a better direction than Europe is. So yeah, I think that gives an A minus to Trump. Could be better. We'll see how the economy goes, but inflation's down. Everything seems to be going in the right direction. It could always fall apart, but it's not yet. So another comment. So Swift and Sweeney. So quick note: these are both very successful women, very very smart, who apparently are friends. So I wanted to do a video. I wanted to do an opinion about how they hate each other, but it turns out that Sydney Sweeney is a Swiftie, disappointing every man out there. But it is interesting how they definitely portray. They have different portrayals of women, and I don't know why Swift gives so many men a queasy feeling. Like it's like almost like an innate dislike. Dislike might be too strong. And then we have to correct ourselves, say, "Oh no, she's fine." But there's the initial instinct we have is, eh. Then we're like, "But she is a good musician. She is a good singer. She does have some bangers." And then we have to kind of correct our opinions. And this is true for like 90% of guys I know, and the remaining 10% are gay. um, so it's weird that, right? And it's almost as if the Cindy Sweeney thing is like the inverse of that, where guys immediately say, "Oh, she's cool," but then they tone it down and be like, "Well, she's a model, actress, whatever." It's almost like an inverse, right? And I feel like there's something there. I don't know quite what it is, but there's something there. And I was thinking about it over a drink at the bar this evening. And I was thinking, well, Taylor Swift, there was a Taylor Swift song playing, of course. Um, there's a lot of me. There's a lot of the me phrase word that comes up in all of her songs. Me, I. And everything is seen as kind of like a vision where the I travels through. Like love story. It's a vision. It's a dream of an idealized vision. Um, what's the song where she's my hand is in the hair, my his hands are in my hair. That song, remember me kind of song. Same kind of thing. It's like a vision of a night entangled in bed sheets. It's a vision. It's imagination. Then there's White Page, where it's like again a lot of stuff. It's a dream where she is a dream and she's a nightmare. It keeps coming up where she is an illusionist. I guess is what I would say. Taylor Swift is an illusionist and a very good one. And that is her brand. That is how she's influenced. She is the paragon of millennial women. That's what she is. She represents millennial women. She is the archetype of the millennial woman. And it's funny. She says, "Oh, I'm not gonna. I don't want a football. She's cheer captain. I'm on the bleachers." That song. Oh, now she's the cheer captain, and she's dating the quarter. She's dating the NBA, the NFL star. So in comes Sydney Sweeney. She is I guess the answer to that, the shadow of that, where I don't know anything about her. I haven't done any research on this because I am a lazy son of a gun. But she's just kind of in her little speech, talk, whatever. She's like, "Oh, we are parts of something that comes before us. We get our genes from our parents and our grandparents. We are part of something beyond just me. We're not atomized individuals that don't have anything to do with the past. We inherit things from our forefathers." Very, very different from the Taylor Swift atomization. And it's weird, right? It's different. It's a different way of looking at things. In many ways, the way now that I talk about it, Taylor Swift is the apogee of the liberal person. Self-made, successful, obviously successful, beautiful, but in a professional kind of way. Like, there's nothing soft about her. There's nothing, even though she's pretty and good looking and everything, there's nothing quite feminine. There's something not feminine about Taylor Swift. And then pick up on that. And at the contrary, again, I don't know anything. Don't blast me for this. Is Sydney Sweeney, who there's just something obviously feminine about her. So yeah, but of course they're friends, so don't make this into they hate each other kind of thing. But they're definitely different visions of femininity in the West. Final topic: class and gender. So base camp did a talk about class and gender, and they basically it was an interesting concept. They weren't organized today, gotta say. But basically, they're saying that males, if they're influencers, tend to portray themselves as being blue collar. They portray themselves as being lower middle class. Not all of them. Michael Knowles, obvious, and the Daily Michael Knowles and Ben Shapiro obviously portray an upper class type of vision of themselves. But all of the Red Pill guys, all of the Matt Walsh, Andrew Wilson, so many of them portray themselves as being lower middle class. It is like a trope on the male influencer space, even if they're not. Even if they're upper class, they portray themselves as being lower, as being working class. Meanwhile, the women influencers all mostly portray themselves as being upper middle class. Um, they're all like Manhattanites, I would say, with some exceptions. The exceptions being Brett Cooper, I think, gives off a distinctly blue collar, working class vibe. And these are all intentional choices. These are all rich people. Don't get me wrong, but there's a vibe, an aesthetic vibe that they're going for in their shows. How are they trying to see? And it was an interesting idea. Now, they kind of lost track of what they were actually claiming. Um, but it's an interesting observation. And I think the reason is that well, I understand why men portray themselves as being low middle class because I think that upper class men on the right see upper class people as being slightly effete. Like somebody like me, who's obviously a bit more of an intellectual, is seen as somewhat effete, which fair. Um, and people like Douglas Murray are held in slight suspicion, but in a way, it's more honest. I think to be accept the fact that you're upper class says a lie, and women are the same way. Whereas like they're all again rich and successful. They all portray themselves as being city people, which is actually kind of more honest because that is how they actually are. I guess that's why I respect the conservative intellectual types who don't pretend to be working class when they're not. Anyway, that's all I got tonight. Cheers.